Under a cold blue sky at our state's capital comes a somewhat chilling but perhaps not unexpected prediction for legislators in 2017.
This will be a long slog, and already going into January, nobody's expecting them to get out on time.
Austin Jenkins, Olympia correspondent of Northwest Public Radio, says that because Republicans with a one-vote majority in the Senate and Democrats with a one-vote majority in the House are facing a huge task, paying for our K-12 school system. The state Supreme Court has set a deadline for September 2018 to have a plan in place for the McCleary decision, which compels the state to fully fund basic education. That means the two-year budget process underway now is critical, though the amount needed to satisfy the court is unclear, ranging between $3 to $4.5 billion in additional money, depending on who you ask. The answer to that math problem will come only after the battle is resolved between the court's duty to uphold the law and the legislature's duty to set spending priorities.
This session will test the court once again in terms of how involved it wants to get in prescribing the outcome and the solution. And I think it's possible that whatever the legislature manages to do won't satisfy the court.
And Seattle City Council President Bruce Harrell says he won't be satisfied if the state's answer to funding education takes money away from other vital needs.
We do not want cuts to essential human services and social services. We're telling them where we don't want the money to come from, but clearly they have to live up to McCleary.
Harrell and the council have a state legislative agenda that includes requests for more city control over state tax dollars, such as the real estate excise tax. Seattle wants to leverage its hot home building market for more money to create affordable units as rents skyrocket.
Where there are transactions going back and forth, we believe that any available tool that could give us more money for housing will help us achieve affordability.
The city is also pushing Olympia for more funding to deal with the homeless, the mentally ill, and those just getting out of prison. Additionally, Seattle wants more help for businesses impacted by delays in the state's Alaskan Way Viaduct replacement project and more incentives to fight climate change. Plus, the city is asking for something currently not allowed under our state constitution: more control over firearms laws to deal with gun violence.
Cities are sophisticated enough to know how to look at their own regulations, and so that's what you're going to see is a push for more local control on these issues.
Certainly a sellable idea, local control, but anytime you're talking about tax dollars, there's also always a concern about how that plays.
Jenkins says Olympia will take Seattle's requests into consideration, but the political reality is state GOP lawmakers are pushing a tax-cutting agenda while still trying to fund McCleary.
When education is sucking not just a lot of the oxygen, but a lot of the dollars up, then what does that leave left over, especially in a climate where there's not a lot of appetite, especially among Republicans, for raising taxes?
Governor Jay Inslee is opposing that notion, with a budget proposal including $4.4 billion in new taxes on capital gains, carbon emissions, and businesses, with most of the revenue going toward education. But will a Democratic House with that slim one-vote majority support the governor's plan?
They got to worry about their re-election prospects. Do they want to sign on to a $4 to $5 billion tax package that is not going to pass the Senate? It's an interesting predicament for them as well.
That predicament of political choices in a do-or-die session when it comes to education funding for the legislature creates a challenging environment for state lawmakers and the cities working to influence their decisions.
We'll really emphasize education, but again, public safety, housing, homelessness, environmental issues are all, we're going to do a full court press and hopefully get some good things accomplished in Olympia.